Dude, I remember after like camp season had ended and you had gotten my number, you would leave me voicemails
Yeah, I did. And I was just
quoting
quoting
the
people.
movie. And I was like, what is happening? But
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode. I think by the time this comes out, dude, we'll be in like the 20s of episodes, which is kind of startling to me to think about that we've already released. When we're recording this, the week that we were recording this, our 15th episode came out. And so which is wild to me. But today, I've also realized that I do the same thing every time. Like I literally say the same phrases when I'm starting an episode or introducing someone, and I'm not going to change it because I just want I want there to be uniformity, sort of. And so,
groove, man.
yeah, it's just part of it. I'm trying to quit saying like and interrupting people when they're on the podcast and saying yeah a lot. So you're not going to get me to change my intro. You're going to get me to change saying like, but
I think I show my age and how like not cool I am because even from the stage, I'll say the word swag.
You've said swag the last 15 times since you've been here.
And I like sarcastically, I still dab. I did it from stage the other day, and I was like, people probably don't know that I'm being
Yeah,
sarcastic.
they don't understand the humor.
This
Was that
guy's
at a youth
living 10
conference?
years ago. What?
Was it at a youth conference?
It was.
Yeah, exactly. Well, today I have one of my oldest friends. We were just talking. We have been best friends for, I think, 18 years. Or close to it. Ben Halsey, thank you for coming on, bro. It means the world that you took time to come sit on a podcast on
Happy
the
to be
couch
here.
with me. And so Ben currently is a worship pastor, singer-songwriter, worship leader at a church here in Nashville. Has been playing music for your entire life. So how we know each other is you grew up in the same town that some of my dad's siblings grew up in. So you and my cousin went to the same school.
Yep.
And went to the same church. So I remember being a kid and you doing, dude, this ages us, if nothing else does, is that we grew up in the era of church. And if you didn't grow up in church, I'll explain this to you. We grew up in the era of church where there was a choir director.
Yep.
And a choir.
Yep.
And a piano.
Yep.
And an organ. And you sang congregational songs. There was not like, if you attend church now, most churches have worship teams and there's singers on stage and bands and everything. We did not grow up in that era.
Right.
And so we grew up, but I remember and a part of that was how you got something that was not a congregational hymn. You had specials.
It's true.
It's true. And so I remember being a kid and you singing specials at church with your dad and sister.
That was special.
It was very special.
That's awesome.
So
I forgot about the term special, but I think that church still.
They 1000% they still do it.
Yeah.
They've got a new pastor now too, don't
I
they?
could probably check Planning Center and see if my dad's doing it this Sunday.
Oh my gosh. The fact that you have Planning Center. Your dad probably is. But you come from a family of musicians.
Yeah.
And talented singers and now that is something that you get to do as your career, which I want to get into all of that. But we were talking before we started recording about when we became friends, and it's funny for us. We're, and I don't know if anybody is like this, but I feel like a lot of people, your friends, you can identify like this is when we met. This is like this was what made us close.
Yeah.
With us, that doesn't exist.
No.
We've known each other so long. You were working on staff at a church camp. So the church you grew up going to, they had a part of their ministry was a church camp that we both worked there. One of my closest friends in the world, his dad was the camp director for 17 years there. And we spent a lot of time out there. And you were working there the first summer I went. And 2008, which is wild. I mean, I was bucktooth, bowl cut Jake in that era.
I could probably find a photo. Actually, you probably have more photos on hand.
Okay, hold on. I found a picture. This was not from that summer specifically, but this would have been a couple years before. I found this. Where did it go?
I just remember there's a photo where, like, I'm wearing my camp staff shirt,
Oh,
and
yes.
we're standing in front of that,
We're standing in front of the
Me and
coffee
Ethan.
shop.
Yeah,
Yep. Oh, yeah, I think that was the 2nd summer there.
yeah.
My 2nd summer there, which would have been your 2nd summer working there. Where's it at? Oh, yeah, look at that. That would have been a couple years before.
I saw that upstairs.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
Dude,
man.
that is I mean, you can't see this very well, but that was a
That's my
selfie.
first memory.
Yeah, that was a
of
selfie on a disposable camera.
That's crazy.
I don't know, or a film camera of some regards. I found it going through boxes yesterday. I was trying to find something, and so then I'm like, I'm taking this out. And like 5 years ago, I would have been like, don't get rid of that, Alex. And now I'm like, nah, I think it's hilarious.
That's amazing.
But that's when we met,
Yeah.
and you were. What caused us to bond? Do you remember? You just talked about it.
Well, you just, like so somehow along the way, you, like, got my number. So, like, after that week of camp
You for sure gave it to me.
and, like, we bonded over the movie Pink Panther,
Shout out Steve Martin,
which
one of
is
the
like
greatest kids comedies ever.
the
It was huge at that
real
time.
life cartoon
Yep,
mashup movie.
yep, yeah.
And,
Not the original Pink Panther, like the new ones. Because
Yeah.
there was like the 70s or 80s, there was one.
True, yes. This
So,
was, like,
yeah,
the
this was the new iteration with Steve Martin,
yes.
which I was obsessed with.
And I had seen it. You had studied it. And, dude, I remember after, like, camp season had ended and you had gotten my number, you would leave me voicemails
Yeah, I did, and I was just
quoting
quoting
the
Pink
movie. And I was like, "What is happening?" But I'm glad you kept calling because it ended up
It
us
led to us
staying
yeah,
friends, like
it led to us I mean, because that was a summer, Caleb Akers also
Yep.
was there, and, like, I became so close with the 2 of you that, I mean, still friends with Caleb. I mean, he still lives in Virginia, so we don't talk, but
Yeah.
his brother-in-law is one of my closest friends in the world, so, like, I mean, stay in touch with them in some regards, but,
Yeah.
yeah, that was dude, I was a weird kid, man. Especially, like, that was going into freshman year of high school. I eventually, like, I feel like I kinda hit the median normal and wasn't, like, so
Yeah.
weird, but, like, ninth grade, freshman year, oh.
Dang.
Yeah, it's that. But, yeah, that's how we
Well, what's funny about that whole camp situation is they hired me
Yep.
at 15 years old,
Mhm.
and the way it worked back then was, like, you had your counselors,
Yep.
which were usually, like, college-age kids,
Yep.
and then every counselor had a CIT, which
Yep.
was a counselor in training,
Yep.
and I was, like, that 15th year, I was like, "I'm working at Camp Eagle." And so but what made it strange was, like, I'm only a year older than you.
Oh, yeah, you were going into your sophomore year of high school.
And
Yeah.
I was, like, a camp
Yeah.
staff, and so I think that also, like, played a part in us being, like, friends
Yep.
outside of that summer because it was, like, we're really, like, the same age.
100 but that's
Yeah.
what's so funny to think about. Was Kenny Scoggins your counselor that summer?
Dude,
Wasn't it Kenny Scoggins?
Kenneth.
Yep. What a guy.
Wow.
You
I found out his legal name was Kenneth, and I just
Is
thought
it
that was the
really?
best thing ever.
You know who mine was?
Who's that?
Tim Reagan and Caleb Akers were my counselor in training, which means
Wow.
nothing to anyone listening to
Yeah.
this.
I still talk to Tim every now and
Do
then.
you really?
Yeah.
So that was my first year at that camp. I didn't know, and like most people that went to that church camp had grown up going there since they were junior campers, and
Okay.
all in the same. Because the week that I went to is also all the kids from that church, like everybody.
Yeah.
So everyone knows each other. Everyone goes to church together. Everyone's friends. Everyone's known each other for forever. I'm the new kid on the block. I don't know anybody, but I did know some people because my cousin, was friends with everyone, so I knew some people.
Right.
The girl that I grew up having a crush on, she was there that summer. I to guarantee you to this day, she has no idea what my name is. But at the time, boy, did I think I had a chance with her. I'll
Wow.
tell you who later.
Camp had, like, magical,
Yeah.
like
We don't need to. Yeah, the amount of like girls that I would have a little thing for
Yeah,
because
like-
you're at camp.
it, like, brought, like, romantic
Dude,
like-
it's so wild how true it is.
it's crazy, man. I remember falling in love
Yeah.
in, like, 6th or 7th
Yeah.
grade with a girl that no idea where she is in the world now, but, like,
Yeah.
I thought, "She's it.
Oh,
She's the
bro.
one."
My second summer there was that way with there's a couple girls that's like, I mean, you don't like have like dude, it's a church camp. So you're just all you're doing is you're hanging out
Yeah.
and you're feigning for their attention the whole week.
Yeah.
And
And notes. The
Oh,
feeling of, like, getting a note when
yeah.
you're a kid.
Dude, I guarantee you that in a box the where we just walked past, because still trying to find some stuff to hang up in the basement. I guarantee you I still have the original piece of paper from my 2nd summer there, which you worked there that summer
Yeah.
still, but that was the summer that I became friends with, like, a lot of people that I didn't know before.
Right, right, right.
And I guarantee you, I still have a piece of paper from a notebook that I took notes in at church camp that summer that has everybody's numbers written on it.
Wow.
I guarantee you, your wife's number's on there, your sister-in-law's number's on there. Um, I mean, I could give you a list of people whose numbers
Should we
are
call
in there.
them?
Dude, we could
I'm
call
into
both.
prank phone calls these days.
What's bad is they all have my number too.
Dude,
It's like,
I did a prank phone call that I don't well, it wasn't really a prank, it was more just, like, stupid, but
dude, I need to get Roman into prank phone calls.
so I don't know if we can put this out or not, but the other
Y
day, I was with someone who happened to have a very famous Southern gospel artist's,
No way.
phone number, and I called and sang one of their songs very poorly to them over the
Hold on. Do I know the person who you were with?
probably not.
Oh, okay, I thought there was someone that I know who played for a that we both know that played for a Southern gospel artist.
You would definitely know the artist, but
Oh my
I just don't
god.
wanna I don't know if I can share but I
Did
definitely sang, one of their songs.
You gotta tell me after, because that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dude, we should bring back prank calls.
I have it on video.
But no, you're right. There was something about, um, like, church camp that just it just for
Made you
whatever
fall in
reason,
love.
made you fall in love. But oh, that's what I was saying. So my first summer, first time there, and I did not when I was a kid, I didn't like being away from home very
Yeah,
much either.
sure.
So it kinda took me a little bit to get in the groove of being there. And the way those cabins were set up, you had like 18 bunks in there or something. They were
Right.
not big cabins, but like they had a bunch of space for people to sleep in. I think they were 2 or 3 tall. I'm in the one right by the door to go to the bathroom, and I'm laying there before dinner one night. We're all taking showers to go to dinner and go to our evening
Yeah, yeah.
service, and Paul Divers was there.
What a guy.
What a guy. Paul Divers, great human. He's not a small guy. And he walks out of the shower and gets like he's like from me to your phone away from like where the door frame is, and he takes one step out of the door frame into the cabin. Dude, feet go out from under and busts his ass, and he just like he's in nothing but a towel, and he just lays on the ground just
Aw.
looking at the sky on concrete floor.
Wow. That's wow. That's a story.
And Reagan's like, "Paul, are you alive?" "No."
Dude.
So you and your wife,
Yep.
when did you all started dating in early high school, middle school, right?
Yeah, so, let's see, I would have been in my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
She's 2 years younger than me, and we went to the same, like, tiny Christian school, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
also attached to the camp,
Yep.
and so our world, like, revolved around
Yep.
church and school and all that. Um, but I'd known her family, like, my whole life,
Mhm.
but they had, like, gone to our church when they were younger, and then she at one point when she was a kid, they moved to Australia, which is where her dad's side of the family is from.
Mm.
One of her brothers was born there, all that, and then they moved back to the States, um, several years later, and then sometime in that, um, I guess what year would that be? 2009?
09-ish,
9-ish,
yeah.
10-ish?
Mhm.
I think it was the fall of '09 actually that, we, like, crossed paths at school, and I was like, "Whoa." And then, that was the era of, we had flip phones, but
Oh,
like,
yeah.
every relationship around me, at least, started with, like, you give your school picture and, like, a little note on the back.
Yep.
So, literally, I
Yep.
have actually, she has it in her, like, memory box, the first, like, school photo, and I have hers with a little note on the back. It's like, "Hope we can become good friends," because 'cause we're in Christian school, so it's
Yeah,
like
you weren't writing anything raunchy
is
yet.
it was about as, like,
PG.
G as it gets.
Yeah.
And so, um
But and then didn't you all broke up somewhere along the lines when was she still in high school? I
yeah,
think because you went to Liberty.
yeah, so we dated all through high school,
Mhm.
um, and then my freshman year of college, made the mistake of of just I just had never experienced like freedom
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of, or like I shouldn't say freedom, but like not being in a relationship,
Mhm.
just because we had been together for so long. And so in college, um, I just wasn't sure what I wanted for the rest of my life yet.
Mhm.
And so um, we we broke up for I think 7 months and realized pretty quickly like that was dumb. Um, and went on a few dates with other girls and just realized I was like found myself comparing them to Naomi, and I was like, these there's nothing wrong with these girls. They're nice girls, but like Naomi was the one I want to like spend my
Yep.
entire life with. So she truly was my best friend. And so after 7 months that summer being back home, we ended up ask her out on a date, and we went to dinner and then like walked around a park, and then we took a blanket and like laid out under the stars. And I think that was kind of the defining moment of like, dang, I think we still love each other.
And that was what, 16-ish years ago? Or 15 probably, somewhere in that.
That would have been 2000 in summer of 2012.
Dude, that's right.
Yeah,
So it would have been 14 years ago.
yeah,
Which is, you know what I remember about that? So that was the year I graduated high school. And I remember being so I came in town for my cousin's high school graduation. 'Cause
yeah.
he and I graduated the same year. And so by this point in time, he and I have like all the same friends essentially because I almost moved to Roanoke during my sophomore year
Okay.
to go to school there with everybody. So like I'm friends with all of the people he's friends with
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot. And I remember going to a graduation party that night. This was also when you were bald.
Oh yeah, I
So
shaved my head that
you
summer.
shaved your head that summer.
I lost a bet.
Yeah. And that was and I have a picture somewhere of you playing piano at
I
I
remember
could
that
tell you
vividly.
whose house we were at.
I couldn't.
I'll tell you later.
Oh.
No,
Oh, you're
it's
not saying it. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, I don't remember, but I
It
remember
was
that
my
night.
cousin's ex-girlfriend's house.
Oh.
His high school girlfriend's house. Which like not it's not a big deal. I mean, dude, that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't so but it was there.
Why was I there?
Because you were there with I think Brian. He was there
Oh.
because he was the
And
class
Steven
below.
was there too.
Steven was
We
there.
were there as a band.
Well, that was gonna say you all were still in a band.
That's right.
Heroes.
We rolled together.
Heroes.
Heroes. Or were we Second Sounds at that point?
I don't
We
know.
rebranded somewhere along the way to Second Sound.
So you did. So
Christian rock.
talking about like in the music world, you started in a Christian like rock band kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, when you guys started like high school,
Yeah.
right?
So we were heroes.
Yes.
So like
2 words, right? Was it one word?
it was one
spelled-
word, but
yeah.
like if you look closely, we moved the E around. So it's like he rose.
Oh, I remember. You had T-shirts.
We did. That I made. I drew them and then we printed them on t-shirts.
So it is incredible though that I mean, you see couples that date in high school that get married
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, and I think the worlds we grew up in, both of us grew up in relatively small town.
Yeah.
Small setting, high schools, like all of that.
Yeah.
I think it amplified it. It was not a Nashville, Hendersonville, metro type area. I mean, Roanoke, Virginia, and Huntington, Virginia are very small towns.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it was not rare to see people you went to high school with date each other for years and then get married.
Right.
But it's also far more common that those people who dated and then got married in college, they're now divorced.
Yeah.
And so I think it's incredible that, I mean, not only have you all been together for almost longer than you weren't together at this point in time.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
True.
But you've now been married 11 years this summer, right?
Yeah, this coming summer.
You got married summer of 15 because you guys got married like 3 months after Tori and I got married.
Yeah.
I think. Because June of 15, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you guys will be married 11 years. So what do you
Good
think
memory,
has
man.
been the biggest reason that, because it's one thing I think to be married for a long time, but I think it's a whole other thing when you've been together for so long and the ability to be married on top of being together for so long and keeping your relationship fresh and staying in love with each other,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way to put it. What do you think has been the driving force in that, where you all aren't. I think it's just so common that people are together for 8, 9, 10 years. They're married for 8, 9, 10 years in our current culture, and they just get bored with each other, or they want something new, or and they don't, and they never set out to do that.
No, yeah, no.
But what do you think for you all has allowed you all to stay healthy in marriage for 11 years?
Um, the main word that comes to mind is forgiveness.
Mm,
Like, I think in any relationship, forgiveness has gotta be, um, such a, um something that you give generously,
mhm,
and because I mean, Lord knows I've been a dummy throughout our entire marriage of
yeah.
just, like, making dumb mistakes, not communicating well, different things, and I think Naomi is one of the most gracious people. Like, her middle name is literally Grace,
I
and
was
and
about to
I'm
say
like
that.
and I believe in the power of names. Like, I
Yeah.
think I think we each have our name for a reason,
Mm.
and their names carry meaning and weight.
Well, you know what my name means?
So
Deceiver.
oh, Jacob? I never even, like, put that together.
I'm kidding. I don't receive that. Anyways, continue. Sorry. That was I'm trying not to interrupt people. I'm
There's
sorry.
other positive.
There is.
There's, like, heel grabber
Yeah.
and, like
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
All
Uh,
of this stuff is from the Bible. So
yeah, yeah.
if that is not something you follow, I'm sorry that we're making inside jokes.
Oh, man.
But continue.
Yes.
So
Apologies. But, no, Naomi's just, like, the most gracious person ever, and, you know, I'm about as golden retriever as it gets.
Yeah.
Like, I'm type B to the max, and so forgiveness and, apologies come quick for me as well, and so, um, I don't know, and then the other thing is the obvious one, which is communication,
Mm.
like and I'm still learning this. I went to lunch, with my boss yesterday, and right now in this season of life, I have the best boss,
Yeah, you had told me that recently.
like, just a guy who cares about people's so, like, he literally was like, "How's your soul? Like, how are
Yeah.
you, like, really doing?" And, he ended up going into this, like, big discussion on, like, healthy marriage
Mm.
and so and, even just yesterday, I'm, like, getting a master class from this man who's 68 years old and talking about the power of healthy communication,
Yeah.
and, he's big into, like, the sociology of, like, what makes you you, like, why do you think the way that you do?
Okay.
When you do something dumb, why do you do something dumb? And so he's like he was even it felt like I was talking to a therapist,
Yeah.
honestly, 'cause he was getting into the psychology of why I think the way I do, why she thinks the way she does, and he was just giving me a master class on, like, communication and healthy communication, and so, like, even even just yesterday, I was, like, trying new things, like,
Yeah.
in communicating with Naomi, and, um so anyways, that's just those are, like, the 2 biggest things, forgiveness and communication, I feel like if you can forgive quickly and learn how to communicate well instead of being passive or just exploding all the time of, like,
Yeah.
over communicating or communicating ineffectively by just yelling or shouting or whatever,
Mhm.
if you can just learn how to, like, be clear.
Oh, yeah, and I think those both of those things come with time. I remember I mean, you and Naomi were just like Tori and I. Mean, I was 20 when we got married, Tori was 22. So you would have been what, 21 and 19, 22 and 20, something
22
like
and
that,
20, yeah.
when you all got married.
Yeah.
So same thing as Tori and I. You're older than Naomi, Tori's older than I am. Um, but, uh, uh, 5, 6 years ago, we became friends with this large group of people, and, they're coming to our house all the time for dinners, and we're hanging out with a bunch of people, and people in all sorts of different walks of life. Like, we were one of the only ones at the time that were married, and, we had other friends getting married, that were late 20s, early 30s, and by this time, we're both mid to late 20s, and I remember this conversation came up of what's easier? Because there were people getting married and, in their early 30s, and the struggle that they went through of you've been an adult for 10 years.
Yeah.
You're solidified in your walk of life in some regards and
Yeah.
all that stuff, and then you get married and you have to merge it.
Yeah.
Whereas for Tori and I, we got married when we were both young.
We're just kids, yeah.
I was dumb, And so then you have to grow up together and have the forgiveness and the patience and the communication when I mean, dude, I'm still not a great like as for someone whose communication is one of my best traits,
Yeah.
I'm really bad at communicating, in the context of like with your spouse at times.
Yeah,
I
for
just think
sure.
it's the male condition.
For sure.
But so did the question was like, what's easier? Growing up together and having to be patient and graceful with each other and like allow each other the space to make mistakes and grow, or to be in your early 30s and you're set in your ways and you have to then have patience and grace to merge your lives more. And I don't think one's easier than the
I was gonna
other.
say, I don't know that there is an
I,
easier
I
because
don't
like,
either.
because that's just like that's our story.
Yeah.
Um, Getting married young and like learning all those things like as you go.
Mm.
But there's a lot of people that don't meet the person
Yeah.
they're supposed to be with. And like one of my best friends got married when he was, I think, 33.
Yeah.
And, they've been married for a few years now and like they're learning stuff, but like no shame on them at all
Yeah.
because they didn't meet until like later on. That's their story and this is mine.
Yeah. And
So
then that's what's I think there's a beautiful piece to getting married young and starting a family young and all that.
yeah,
But it's not easy.
yeah.
I mean
No.
you remember like I was 23 when we had Roman. And I'm still I mean, dude, my brain didn't develop until I was 32, and I'm 31 right now.
Wow.
But so like I'm literally a kid
Yeah.
who now has a kid, and we've been married for 3 years, I think, when we had him.
Yeah.
And so it's just there's a beautiful piece to that, but there also is a lot of I mean, dude, we were dirt poor.
Yeah.
We had nothing. We barely had 2 nickels strapped together. And so it's just again, I don't think one is better than the other, but there's a beautiful piece of being young, being dumb in some regards, and figuring it out together,
Yeah.
and then having the grace. I mean, and I'm like you. I mean, my wife is the most graceful human being on the planet.
Yeah, man.
And I think I said this on a previous episode talking with my friend Cody Prizer, but I'm like, I think the greatest decision any adult has to make is who their partner is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it matters so much
A
in
lot.
the scope of you think about what you think on like a human aspect, a tertiary aspect in a sense of like what you've been able to accomplish and do and pursue from a career and a dream perspective because you have a spouse who supports it.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot to think about because you have like obviously the attractive piece.
Yeah.
You're like, am I like, do I think this person is beautiful? Am
Yeah.
I gonna always think this person is beautiful? Like, and then you have, is this person gonna make me better? Am I gonna make them better?
Yeah.
Is this someone who I can forgive quickly and is gonna forgive me quickly? Like
Mhm.
when you're dating, is it like, do we communicate well or are we
Yeah.
like talking about nothing? Or is it just raw passion and nothing else?
Yep.
Like, it's like it's a lot to think about.
There
I would not want to date.
No, oh my gosh,
No.
dude, I've said that before to friends. It's like, now all of my friends are married, or the greater majority are married. Like, I have, like, a handful that I have, like, probably less than 5 friends at this stage of life that are single.
Yeah.
And if they're not single or if they're not married, they're with someone and they're very serious.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just like, dating. I mean, like when Tori and I got married, Tinder had just come out.
That's crazy.
So like dating apps were really that like this modern iteration, like current climate of dating apps were not really a thing. No one, it was not the same as now where so I could not.
Yeah.
I had a friend 5 or 6 years ago, we were hanging out with him and this conversation kind of came up. And he's like, if something ever happened to my life, he's like, I'm a hermit the rest of my. He's like, ain't no shot in hell I'm getting married. He's like, I'm not doing this. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm not dating in this climate. So it's like, I respect everyone who is dating now.
Yeah.
But
Mad respect.
said something though that I think sometimes because in the scope of like picking a spouse, finding a partner, I think sometimes you can go one end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Is you either find someone that you're super attracted to,
Yeah.
or you go, well, this is someone who's I'm compatible with.
You're
And
not attracted to it.
yeah, and like we can build, like
Yeah.
we can be successful and have a great life together, and like
Yeah.
they'll be a great spouse and great partner and great parent. I had a mentor. So when Tori and I started dating, I was still youth pastor at the time. And one of my mentors looked at me and he said, brother, he said, if she don't make you want to do stuff, then you need a new, then you shouldn't be together. And when he said that, I was like, one, he was not the type that I ever anticipated to make a statement like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
to
yeah.
me. Because he was very much like, you need to be staying pure, all of like that whole conversation.
Okay.
And so for him to be like, if you ain't tempted to go too far, then you don't have the right
She ain't the
partner.
one. Okay.
I'm like,
Wow.
dang. So it's like it's a both and conversation
Oh,
in that
yeah.
world of
Well,
like,
all these things are important.
yeah,
Like, literally all of these
yeah,
things are important.
and I think one thing I had to learn in marriage was not trying to make my spouse what I thought they needed to be.
Mm.
I think it was just the immaturity that I had at 20.
Meaning, like, are you,
I think not giving her the space to just be her.
yeah. Well, and it's also
probably
about
better.
us becoming
Yes.
better
Yes.
for them.
Yes. 100%. And so it's rather than like, I said like again, but rather than allowing her to flourish in what she is gifted at or what she is, who she is as a human. It's this sense of where you go, well, why don't you do this? And
Yeah.
it should just be something super simple.
Yeah.
So I think I had to grow up in that regards of figuring out, and I still am trying to figure this out, of doing my best to letting her be herself
Yeah.
and letting her the same way she allows me to be myself. Probably too much, probably to a fault sometimes because I'm unhinged and she allows it.
Well, and the thing I'm learning right now is like to that point is like if I like my actions and the way that I serve my wife, it will bring out the best in her.
Yes,
So like
100%.
it starts with, in a lot of ways it starts with us. Like, if you want your spouse to be happy and you want um good communication and you want forgiveness, like start with yourself. I think I've like had this internal narrative at times where like she's not um acting in this certain way that
Yeah.
I want her to act,
Mhm.
and then I close off.
Yeah.
When really it's like, no, if you want to flip the script and
Mhm.
you're noticing that the script is like getting a little like
Yeah.
quiet, change it.
Yeah.
You change it.
Yeah. Right.
And that's where I'm at. It's like,
Yep. I know what you mean.
you know what? If I see that um the kitchen's a mess or the kids, we have 3 boys, and
Yeah.
so, like, our house is always a mess, and it's like, instead of just, like, leaving it and waiting for her to do it because she inevitably will,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
When I think that is one hard part in marriage too is I think something that Tori and I are always on different pages on is that she sees things differently than I do.
Yeah.
And I see things differently than she does. And one is not right and one is not wrong necessarily.
Right.
But so you take like the instance of the house where we host a lot, we host friends, whatever it is. Well, I mean, to me right now, all right, our basement is a mess where we're recording.
It's sick, though.
It's so sick. But so it's like, all right, I know this is a mess. But the kitchen right now is clean.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
All that needs
To
done
you.
is right. And so
Yeah.
like dishes need put away. But
Yeah.
so to her, in her brain, she doesn't see the way she sees that the house is a wreck everywhere. And so it's just that piece of I think as the husband is doing our best to like try to see it's almost empathy in a sense.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
trying to see things the way she does because it alleviates stress from
Yes.
that.
That's 100% exactly what I'm learning right now.
And it's hard
Yeah.
because I'm sitting here and I'm like, the house is clean.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't know what like.
Well, and then I go on my
understand. Help me understand what's not clean. You know?
And then I go on my gratitude spiel, and I'm like, yeah, but we're gonna
you spiritualize it. And
No. Just like no. I romanticize it. I'm like,
okay.
I'm like, but someday the kids are, they're not gonna
You pull
make a
out the
mess
Alan
anymore.
Jackson.
It's like,
You pull out the Alan Jackson. We're just gonna remember when.
yeah. Remember when.
Okay, so
Great song.
dude, I genuinely cannot hear that song and not cry.
It made me feel things in like 7th grade.
Dude, I heard it. I heard it again. It was almost like the first time I heard the song. It wasn't. but I heard it 2 years ago, I think it was. He performed that song live at, I think it's the ACNs.
Okay.
And he comes out and sings this song. And I'm behind him. I've told the story on this podcast, I'm pretty sure 100 times, but behind him, there's a reel of like his family clips playing it, and his wife's in the crowd. And it's, now he's close to retirement. And the end of it, that song, remember when we said when we turn gray, when the children grow up and move away, we won't be sad, we'll be glad for all the times we've had. And the other one that Tori and I joke about now is I saw this video on Instagram, and it was this couple, and they were feeding their newborn, or like, young baby, and the baby's just freaking out, and they're like screaming, going bananas. And one of the spouses looks at them and goes, "You're gonna miss this." And so that's now our joke. So like 2 days after that, Tori's at work. It was one of her first days back at work. And her parents had bought us dinner, and I was like, I'm just gonna go pick it up. It's gonna be easier for me to go pick it up than try to tell you what I want. I just all thing.
Yeah.
So I'm taking both boys. So I've got Roman in the back seat, who's hangry as hell. And I don't know if Jonas gets this way, but like when they get hangry, it's dark.
Oh yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just, so Roman's hangry. Harvey had just woken up from a nap and eaten, or he's getting hungry. He had just woken up from a nap and gets in the truck, and so he's pissed. So Roman is sitting in the back with his ears covered because Harvey's screaming, and he's moaning and groaning, and Harvey's screaming at the top of his, 3-month-old lungs, just pissed as all get out.
Yeah.
And then Roman's screaming because Harvey's screaming.
Perfect.
And I'm texting Tori, and I'm just like, what in the world? And her only response, she sent me the link to You're Gonna Miss This. And I said, I'm like, I hate you.
Tori rules.
Dude, she's so, it was so, but yeah, it's
tough.
that. It's like when the house is a mess, she's like, you're gonna miss this someday.
Yeah.
You can go ask your parents.
That's awesome.
Now, I mean, granted, her parents, live 5 minutes down the road, like a 5-minute walk away.
Yeah. Oh, my wife.
Yeah, you're in
straight over.
Oh, so you talk about being a dad. As long as I've known you, and as long as I've known you and Naomi together, you wanted to start a family.
Mm-hmm.
You would have 10 kids if she would let you.
Yeah.
Like 1,000%. So we had Roman. Roman's 2 years older than Jonas, like barely 2 years older than Jonas.
Yeah.
And so I remember, when we had Roman, that was, when you all were like, we're trying,
yeah.
Which is
a big part of our story.
It's a hilarious thing though, when people are like, we're trying. It's like, all right, dog, we all know what that means.
We're doing it.
Yeah, it's like you're doing it unprotected.
Yeah.
It's like when family goes.
It was awful.
I hated it. Unprotected sex was the worst.
For us.
Yeah. But that was, the time of life where you all tried for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
right?
Just 12 months.
Okay, so so about around a year, and then I'm trying to remember when you all told us. But all that to say, you have your oldest.
Yep.
9 months later, you find out, or 6 months later, you find out you're pregnant with your second.
3 months later.
It was that quick?
Yeah. So Jonas was born. He was 3 months old.
In October. Yep.
And then we find out we're pregnant with our second.
I will never, as long as I live, forget the phone call, because it was during 2020.
Right when COVID hit.
It was right when COVID hit. So you all had, you all were living here. You had moved here, but you were staying with your in-laws in Virginia during COVID.
Correct. For 7 weeks.
Yeah, because you weren't working. No one knew what was going on. You help with the baby. So we had called you. I don't remember if we called you or you all called us, whatever. It was one evening, we're talking. And I said something about, when you all were back, let's go grab sushi, or we'll hang out, have sushi together, kick it. And either you or Naomi want to go, well, Naomi can't have sushi right now. And Tori goes, are you pregnant? And Naomi's like, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, so
we found out we were pregnant.
Yeah, so you find out. So you have 2 under 2. You have 2 under 18 months.
At that point, yeah. And so... they're a year and 6 days apart. And so, which the way I see it and the way we see it now, Naomi was not stoked at first, only because she had just got done being pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Was getting her body back, all this stuff, and it's like, bam,
Yep.
a whole nother year of
Just do it
that.
again. Yep.
Now we're like, can't imagine it any other way
Mhm.
because our boys are best friends and
Yeah.
they're so close. They do everything together.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Then it was like, oh no, like because
Yeah.
it's almost comical because we tried for a year
Mhm.
and we are like, we wanted to be parents so bad.
Right.
We were mentally prepared for the idea of adoption. We just wanted to be parents.
Mhm.
And so I literally my prayers to God changed from like instead of just like Lord give me a biological child of my own, it turns into was like Lord, you know that I want to be a father. Naomi wants to be a mother. Um, if adoption is the path that you have for us, we're cool with it.
Yeah.
And it was right then when we got pregnant with Jonas, literally like days after
W
that prayer.
Isn't there something interesting, like, with that with the perspective shift that comes in that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think about it. I mean, I remember when Tori and I got married, or started dating. I'm in ministry at the time,
Yeah.
full-time youth pastor. All my friends are married, all of them. Every dude I know who I am doing life with that was in the same boat as me was all married. I'm an 18-year-old single youth pastor.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have a spouse to do this with. And I remember
Yeah.
talking to two of my closest friends, Bobby and Casey Dixon. We were talking, and Casey and I, you know, have always been really good friends. And I remember talking to her, and she and Bobby, kind of like um, you and Naomi, like had been together for. They weren't married yet. And I don't know that they were engaged, but they'd been dating at this point in time for 3 or 4 years. I
Yeah.
mean, keep in mind, like we're young college kids essentially. And they'd been together for a few years, and I remember talking with Casey about it one day because every time, like, I'm just like, dude, I wanted to have a spouse. I wanted to have someone that I could share life with,
Yeah.
and we were talking, and she was just like, you have to become content where you are,
Yeah.
and once you can find contentment, just wait.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I became content and quit searching and quit chasing after, and I think that's a life principle in general of the longer you're striving and chasing after something, whatever it may be, whether that's marriage, parenting, being parents, financial success, whatever. And when I finally was content and just was like, hey, you know what? The right person will come along at the right time, and I don't need to force it. And like, dude, within a month, I think Tori and I went on our first date.
Yeah.
And we went on 3 dates in 7 days and then never
Yeah.
looked back. And now
Yeah.
we've been married 11 years and have 2 insane children.
Beautiful kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like the perspective is still, it's interesting because we didn't think the way we look at it now is like we didn't think we could have one kid.
Yeah.
And then we got pregnant right away.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, Lord, like we weren't sure we could have any. And this isn't necessarily like the timing we would have chosen,
Right.
but thank God, like this
Yeah.
is awesome. And so, it was scary there for a second. And also like it was during COVID. So like the world was
So weird.
shut down.
Yeah.
Like I was as a father, like I was like, I didn't know how COVID,
Yeah.
we didn't know anything about COVID back then. So it was like, how does this affect?
Well, and we also still don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a little less scary now, but like,
But no, dude, at the time, you literally
how does this affect?
you thought the world was gonna end, and what was our life gonna look like,
Yeah.
in a year? We didn't all those things we didn't know.
Yeah.
And so
Crazy.
you all went through the gauntlet, for I've talked about this on the podcast, and so I'm sorry, the conversation just come up again. But I've we've got 2 boys, 8 years apart. Just under 8 years apart,
Yeah.
by like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's been hard.
Yeah.
Because it's just there's such different stages of life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you're trying to maintain a relationship with one while like developing
yes.
another to
And
that
it's
point.
dude, and you've kind of done that on a smaller scale. You've done both.
Yeah.
You've had 2 boys side by side in age, essentially, in the gauntlet of young kids and 2 under 2 and all of that.
All the things. Yeah.
And then now you've got Ozzy, who just turned he's a year old, just over a year old.
Yeah.
And then you've got a 6 and a 5-year-old.
Yep.
Who will be 7 and 6 this year. So like, what has that process been like going through to both sides of it. Because again, having an 8-year-old and a newborn has been very hard. And the way I describe it to people is, when Harvey's born, you're in the newborn throes of it 24/7. We still are. I mean, he'll be
Yeah.
5 months old in a few days, and I had a friend tell me right before we had Harvey, she's a good friend of mine in Tori's, and she was like, "You all are about to be in the trenches."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I forgot how accurate that was.
Yeah.
That you're just surviving.
Yeah.
But then you throw in the 8-year-old who also deserves your best every day too.
Me too. Yeah.
And he needs the same love, care, attention in a different fashion than the newborn does.
Yeah.
This dude, it is hard.
I think in the early days of having, I didn't feel it as much with my two older boys, Jonas and Maverick, just because it was like raising twins. Like
Right.
it the way I've said it is like it's like twins with a trial run on one. Like the
Yes.
first one.
I know what you mean.
Like,
Yeah,
because
I do.
everything was just like this. And so they were so close to where it was like divided attention. It was like raising twins. Like, it was just we just did everything together. We raised them together. They did everything together. They learned to ride scooters and bikes together.
Mhm.
With Ozzy, my youngest, I think that's the first time I've like struggled with guilt and like how I divide my time,
Mm.
because my older two sons I'm very close with, and when they were like 2 and 3, we started doing these things called bro night, which is where once a week, and we've done it for years, literally at least once a week. Sometime this week it'll be two nights this week we'll do it, where we do a bro night, and it's anything from like we throw a pizza in the oven and watch a fun movie and play video games, or it's I'm a musician, so I don't have a lot of money, so like we have to get creative with how we like do fun things.
Sure.
So sometimes I just take them over to my church in the
Yeah.
evening, and we just explore every like staircase and hallway that we can
Yeah.
find, and that's
Yeah.
bro night.
And they love it.
Yeah, and so with a little one in the mix as well, like the trick is like, how do I give my youngest son the same care and
Right.
intentionality and time while I've got these two boys who have 5 and 6 years of relationship with me
Mm.
and adventures and things that they like want me all the time to wrestle and go and do. And then this one, it's like it's a slower pace, and so I have to like. There's been times where like I have to go with my older two to do something, and Naomi takes care of Ozzy, and we try and be intentional with like splitting that time too. Like Naomi will take the boys and go do something fun,
Mhm.
and I'll just have my Ozzy time. And that now that Ozzy is 13 months old, um, we've just started incorporating him into bro nights. So
Yeah.
for the season that we're in, we've rebranded bro night. We had it last night actually.
Yeah.
We um we went to the grocery store,
Mhm.
all three of us. I have a really cute picture of it.
Yes, yes.
And we got our ingredients. We come back home, we throw on the Goonies, because I'm really in this like era of showing them like
Yep.
good movies from the
Dude,
80s
what
and
we
90s.
grew up on. Yeah, that's what I'm in the same boat.
Oh, dude. Back to the Future and the Goonies are
I
like,
saw that you were watching Back to the Future.
dude, that was this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that, and then we wrestled, and then we played video games to like end the night. And then I let the older boys stay up a little bit later after we got Ozzy to bed. And so all that to say, like now Ozzy, now that he's not like an infant, and
Mhm.
he can actually like hang and run around, and he likes wrestling too.
Yeah.
And the boys my older two boys just are obsessed with him. They love
Yeah.
being big brothers.
Yeah.
And so I say like you're like to your point, like there's this like survival season where you're like, I can't like talk to my child. Like they know me as their dad, but like there's not the same relationship that I have with my
Yeah.
7 or 8-year-old
Dude.
son. It's like, and I've struggled with the guilt of that, of like I want to give both of them my best.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, if you're just intentional with like the time that like I still got to invest in my younger son here, because if I want that same relationship with him, I've got to put in the work now
Yeah.
here while maintaining the work here.
Dude,
It's crazy.
it's so unique, and I get exactly what you're saying because with Roman, like, even Roman, he wants Harv to be involved in what we do,
Yeah.
but Harvey's 5 months old.
Yeah.
He's a blob still.
Yeah.
Like, he'll engage with you a little bit, but, like, he's not crawling, he's not talking,
Yeah.
he can't hold his head up yet, you know what I mean? He got a big head. That's if the law boys get anything from me, it's a big head.
Wow.
But it's navigating the balance in that is, I think, one of the biggest pieces of this season of life of
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of times where me and Rome will go, like Saturday, me and Rome went out and hung out with his best friend and his dad, who's a good friend of mine, and Tori stayed home with Harvey.
Yeah.
And so then it's just I think for me, when we had Harvey and Roman's older, what I wanted to do my best at was Roman doesn't feel like a side effect.
Right.
The flip side of that is also Harvey doesn't, which he's so little, he quote unquote won't remember, but also that he doesn't feel like a side effect. And
Yeah.
it's hardest on days when Tori works where Roman he wants me to go outside right now and do whatever he wants to do, whether it's kick a soccer ball, play basketball, throw football. He wants to be
Yeah.
outside doing one of those.
Yeah.
Hitting golf balls. He wants to be outside. And so then it's finding the right time to do that when
Yeah.
Harvey doesn't need to eat, he doesn't need a nap, and you take him with us to be there so that Roman can, be able to, because at the end of the day, excuse me, I'm not crying.
I was like, whoa.
So
Like,
at the end of
Yeah.
the day, what your kids want is your presence.
Yes.
And I mean, for guys like us, where we're creatives, eh, although we both have full-time jobs, we also are pursuing passions outside of our full-time jobs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you're constantly my brain doesn't shut off with
Yeah.
any of that. And so I think the hard part for me as a dad is doing my best to shut the phone off, although it's not off, but not being on it and being engaged and present in what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm so bad at it. Like, I don't know if you feel that way, but it's just, because in my full-time job, I'll get calls from clients at 7:00
Yeah.
sometimes. And knowing when to say yes and no to stuff
Boundaries. Yeah.
is I think one of the biggest pieces or hardest pieces of it. So what do you feel, when it comes to parenting and being a dad of 3 boys, what do you feel is your greatest responsibility when it comes to that?
Oof.
And this answer could change in 5 years when your boys are teenagers, but in this season of life, I mean, where you've got old, like little big kids
Yeah.
and a newborn or baby.
So I think it starts with so I read this book a few years ago. You may have heard of it. It's called Habits of the Household.
Yeah, you told me about it. I haven't read it, but you told me about it.
Phenomenal book. And in the book, there's this, I think it's in one of the early chapters too. He talks about the whole thing is about like liturgy
Mhm,
and like saying powerful things over your family and with your family.
mhm.
And there was one early on in the book that I just immediately applied, which was so before bed, I would be sitting there they share a room, and so I'd be sitting there on their bed, and um, Jonas, Maverick, I need you to look me in the eyes real quick. I said, "Do you know that I love you, even if you do something bad?" And the idea is that you teach them to say yes.
Mhm.
So okay, do you know that I love you, even if you do something good? Yes. At first, it's like confusing for them. Then it becomes repetitious. So okay, so good or bad, dad always loves you,
Right,
no matter what.
right.
And then I say, who else loves you like that? I say, mom, grandma, pa, Mimi, pops. Like they start saying like other people. I'm like, right. I said, but most importantly, God loves you like
Yeah.
that. God loves you, whether if you do something good or if you do something bad. And then we end the night like that.
Yeah.
And that's just, so I think from like day one, or at least early on, I felt that weight of like, I want them in the way that I father them, because I'm a Christian,
Right.
and uh, I want the way that I father my kids. I want them to understand their heavenly Father just a little bit easier because of me.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I think that's probably my biggest goal is that if I can raise them in such a way with the balance of um, grace, love, care, justice, forgiveness. Like if I can like figure out a way to balance all these things to where, and I know I'm not gonna do it perfect.
Yeah.
I've failed a million times,
Oh, for sure.
but I think my biggest goal is like I want them to understand their heavenly Father's heart
Yeah.
easier because of the way that I father them.
Yeah.
Um, and with that, I think come all these like sub goals of like I want them to be confident in who they are.
Mhm.
Like I want them to like if in 10 years, if they're dealing with something that is very sensitive and they feel like they can't talk to anybody, I want them to feel like they can
Yes.
talk to dad.
Yep.
Like, I'm not gonna look at them sideways if it's embarrassing or
Yeah.
if it's shameful or anything. So I'm really trying to build those things in my kids now of like, you can talk to me about anything.
Mhm.
Like, there's nothing too embarrassing or shameful that I'm gonna look at you any different because I will always look at you as my son.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think it just starts with that those little moments like that of, do you know that I love you even if you do something bad?
Mhm.
Do you know that I love you even if you do something good? And I've already seen it played out in like crazy ways. I think like a year ago, we were crossing the street to go see a movie with our older two boys, and I was holding Jonas's hand, and he said, "Dad, thank you for telling me that you love me even when I do something bad. I
Dang.
didn't know that before." And it's just like, even it's just a child's mind of like clearing the air of like, there's nothing that you can say or do that will ever change the way that I feel about you. And just building that in them now, um, that's like top priority for me.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, and there's something well, first of all, I wanna say, like sorry, thought I heard my son. Anyways, um, I first wanna say, like, you are a great dad. Like, I've seen you be a dad to your boys. You're one of my closest friends, and you're f like, you are a phenomenal father. But to your point as well, if you talk about the first time you kinda get a glimpse and get to see what you're saying in practice. So, like, Jonas looking at you like, "Dad, thanks for telling me that." And, like, I think as parents, we don't realize how much our kids truly are sponges
mhm.
and how much they take in,
Yeah,
like, what they consume,
yeah,
whether it's from us or entertainment. And I think that's also why it is important, guarding as a parent what we allow our kids you know, to consume.
yeah,
And especially in our like, it's parenting's changed so much and childhood's changed so much where the iPad I mean, Roman's got a Nintendo Switch, I mean, they like, it's just constant. Yeah, there's
sorry.
jeez. Um, but I mean, we grew up in the generation of video games and
Yeah,
TV, and it's changed even like, it's so much more accessible and easy now.
yeah.
But and then you talk about the identity piece too. Dude, I don't know when I started this with Roman. He was little. Dude, I mean, he was little, little. And when he would go to bed at night, we would do the same thing. I'd look at him and say, "You're the head, not the tail. You're above and not beneath. You're called, anointed, equipped, chosen. You're a leader, not a follower."
Mm,
And then we changed it though, because when he was in kindergarten, he was really struggling going to school. He'd gotten sick right before, and dude, we said that, and so like I said that to him almost every day when he was, little, and then when he became old enough to go to school,
yeah,
we said it every morning before he went to school. Well, when he was in kindergarten, he got sick right before Christmas and, wasn't in school off and on for, like, a whole week leading up to Christmas break. Then he had the 3-week Christmas break, then they had an extended Christmas break because they were doing construction at the school, so, like, he was hardly in school for, like, a month. And he gets to this point in time where he refused to go to school. I mean, the first week back to school, we let him go to school late, like 3 straight days because he just could not bear to leave my side.
yeah,
And so we changed it that year that every morning we're on our way to school every morning as we're getting ready to pull into the parking lot, we pray together, and then he says it. He says this phrase. He says, "I'm the head, not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. I'm called, anointed, equipped, chosen. I'm a leader, not a follower. I'm strong, I'm brave, and I can do hard things."
Mm.
And I just changed it on a whim one day because the thought of him facing his fears of being away from us, he couldn't grasp.
Yeah.
Like he could not do it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like his school has school counselors that he was able to meet with. Like, I mean, we're very, very grateful for all, like, and he was able to work through it. And he still has hard days. And like, and I
Yeah.
have to remind myself too with that conversation, he's only 8.
Yeah.
So he is still a kid. Like he's still, I mean, when I was in second grade, I didn't want to be away from home either. So,
Yeah.
but I remember going when he went into first grade, and when you start a new school year, there's the unknown of all of it and the hard. And we walk into his classroom, and his teacher has a flag on the wall and says, "You can do hard things."
Wow.
And so it's just this like reminder for him that he sees. And so, but all of the reason I do that with him is that identity piece
Yeah.
of when he's 16. Everything that I do now, and I have said this since he was a baby, everything that I do is to prepare him for when he's 15, 16, 17, 18 out of my house.
Yeah.
So I want him to have the identity piece from me. So it's like everything we say is building that identity and the internal piece in him
Yes.
that he doesn't need it. I've told people this before, and I've probably said it on this podcast before. If he doesn't get it from me, he will get it.
Yeah.
And it will be from something that I have no control over.
Right.
And I think that's the piece that you're saying as a dad as well, of you want them to get that core internal belief system.
Yes.
One, in God, and two, in internal like identity and structure from you as their dad.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the greatest jobs we have as a father.
Yes.
And especially with boys, is that I've told people, like, he's gonna have a girlfriend someday.
Yeah.
Whether I want him to or not. Like, he's gonna be 16 and have a crush on a girl and take her on a date.
Yeah.
And so in that conversation, my thing is I want him to have the standards and boundaries that I've helped him build
Yeah.
now, so that when he is in that boat, he knows the right decisions to make. He doesn't put himself or a girl in a position to make decisions that can affect their lives for forever.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be in a boat. I mean, all of our boys are gonna be in friends or gonna be in a situation with friends where they're like, "Hey, try this," and not that what they want them to try is necessarily inherently bad, but it's probably not the best decision at that time. And
Yeah.
you want them to know. But then the flip side of that is the second piece you said. I want my boys to have a relationship with me, and I want to build a trust equity with them now, so that when they are in that position,
Yeah.
they know they can come to me and I'm not going to be mad at them.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to something we were talking about before we started, but we're talking about something, and you were talking about how you were lied to.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I've told Roman. Whether you disobeyed or did the right or wrong thing, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Just all I care about as your dad is I want you to tell me the truth.
Yes.
And then there may
Well
be consequences, there may not be, but I'd rather you be like, just tell me the truth. I'm not gonna be mad if you tell me the truth.
Yeah. 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 Don't lie to me.
Yeah, that's I think
Yeah.
my thing as a dad too is, and so I just want to, and I've had instances, I've told the stories before on the podcast, so I won't reiterate them, but I mean there was an instance recently with Roman where he had a hard day, was struggling, and just was not listening, and we were just Tori was at work, and so I was in the throes of it as a dad with both boys, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I was done with his ass. I was like, bro, you need to go to bed. We're like today's, and he lays down, and it's late. That by the time he went to bed, and he looks at me, he's like, Dad, I'm sorry, it was a hard day, school today, and I'm sorry I was struggling.
Wow.
I'm tired. It wore me out, and so that though is evidence of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm a big believer in, like our words, especially as fathers, like have like extremely
do.
powerful. Like our words is
Yeah.
potent stuff to our
Mhm.
kids, and so I love to say things like, when I see Jonas or Maverick do something really sweet for their little brother, and I'll have a conversation with them, be like, "Hey, you know what really impressed me about what you just did?" Like, "What?" And I was like, "I think that means that someday you could be a really good dad.
Mm,
Like, the way that you just, like, cared for
yeah,
him, like, you didn't have to do that, but you cared for him or you protected him. That's really cool." And I just love, like, affirming those things in them of, like, you could be a really good dad
yeah,
someday. Like, if God gives you kids or whatever, like, um, I love speaking those, like, things over my kids.
yep,
Um, and even with Jonas, like, I've had this conversation many times. He'll say something to me and, like, "Do you know why God made you the oldest brother?" He goes, "Why?" I said, "'Cause he trusts you.
mhm,
And he knows that you're gonna be strong, and he knows that you're gonna be brave, that you're gonna be kind."
yeah,
And I'm almost, like, assuming those things
yeah,
over his life,
100%.
and it, like, works.
Dude,
It just works.
yeah, I heard years ago, um, somebody talking about being a dad and how they corrected one of their sons, and were like, they said something about how you're not like, we are this, you are not that. And they were corrected by one of their, this person talking was corrected by one of their siblings and said, why are you speaking to the negative?
Yeah.
Because our brain, I don't, I heard this somewhere along the lines, and this was about golf. Alfonso Rivera was on a podcast talking about golf. And he said, when you step up on a golf course and you say, do not hit it in the water, your brain doesn't understand negatives.
Mm.
And if I'm wrong, somebody smarter than me correct me. But the way I understand it, our brain does not understand a negative. It does not understand do not. Our brain hears do hit it in the water. So when you think about it in the scope of parenting, if you look at your boy and say, you are not this, their brain doesn't compute that.
It's almost like from the movies, like, "Don't mess up," and then they, like, immediately, like,
Yes.
mess up. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And so it's that same sentiment. So why not to your point, why not tell my son that he is kind and he's strong and he's brave and
yeah.
that he's going to do these great things.
Yes.
And it's not even this airy, you know, ethereal type of language as
Yeah.
much as it's just, and it's not this you're going to be an astronaut someday, buddy. No, it's just it is
Yeah.
speaking to their future in the sense of
Core values,
yeah,
like,
encouraging all of the
yeah.
good you see, not speaking to the bad. Because it is so easy as a parent when you're in the heat of frustration and correction and you go, you do not do that. Like that is not who we are. It's easy to be that way.
Yeah.
And so it's just you I think as dads we have to remind ourselves to take a step back. And you know me, like I'm a high emotions
Yeah. Yeah. There's
guy. Yeah. And so it's easy for me because of that to snap when I don't need to snap.
Yeah.
Especially again in this season of life, we've got a newborn and an 8-year-old, and the nature of all that is different.
Yeah. Well, and not to be confused, but, like, I was just having this conversation. I was traveling with a band, this past weekend, and, I was the oldest one, and we were traveling under my, like, artist,
Yeah,
um
dare fly.
something just flew by. We were traveling under, like, as me as an artist,
Uh-huh.
and so they were all, like, younger people, and we just kept getting into, like, these really great conversations um, about fatherhood.
I heard it.
So
It's a wasp. We get some wasps every now and then.
oh, there he
They're
is.
leaving dormancy. If it comes over, I'm like, got him.
Yeah. Wait.
Got him. I want you to know I'm leaving that in the podcast.
Yeah.
It's-
Wasp up.
Dude, did you? I'm just gonna be honest. That was pretty impressive.
Hey.
It's great teamwork.
It is. I don't remember where I was going with
I
that.
don't either.
Uh,
Well, let's shift gears then.
okay. I know.
Because this is a great place to kind of land the plane too.
Yeah.
As we are nearing the end. So you talk about your artist stuff.
Yeah.
So you I remember we talked about like you've been in music your whole life, really. And I remember in summer of 15, Tori and I were getting ready to move to Nashville. And you and Naomi were still living in Roanoke.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how it came up, but I had texted you or something. We ended up on a Zoom call together, me, you, and Naomi. Tori
Oh,
was at
yeah.
work.
I was wearing that crazy hat.
You were sitting on the front porch of that house.
I had like a cowboy hat.
Yeah, you did.
back then.
Like the wide brim fedora. I still have mine somewhere.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. I love it. But we started talking about, and I think maybe you had seen on Facebook we were moving here or something. I don't know. But we end up on this phone conversation, this Zoom call together, talking about like dreaming about the future and where we were both going. And you were like, dude, we want to end up in Nashville. We want to be there. And our dreams look different at the time a little, like mine did at the time.
Yeah.
And, I think thankfully the Lord kept us from that dream, I think. Sometimes, isn't that interesting? Sometimes we have dreams that aren't good for us.
Yeah.
And like I've said, like, if I had gotten that dream when I thought I wanted that dream, I don't know that I'd be alive.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other topic of discussion. But what is it? The reason I bring that up, you're living in what you dreamt, in like what we talked about and you were dreaming that day.
Yeah.
What's that? Do you realize that on a daily basis or at all?
I feel like I've just recently come into that way of thinking. I had coffee with another Christian artist that I look up to recently, and he asked me this question. We were sitting at Barista Parlor in East, and he's like, dude, what is the definition of making it for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't really know, to be honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, to provide for my family with like my craft.
Yeah.
I think is like some semblance of what I said. And he was like, okay. And then he sent me a message later, like the next day, I think.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, I was thinking more about that question I asked you, and I was just thinking about you. And he said, I just want to let you know, bro, you've made it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, think about it. He said, you've got your family, you've got your health, you're making music that you care about, and you're doing it for like because part of what I'm doing right now is like I have almost zero costs.
Which is very hard to do in releasing music.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
I've considered myself very blessed to be able to do that. And so he's like, dude, you've made it. Like,
Yeah.
live in that gratitude of rather than like wishing that you were in another season or in someone else's shoes, be grateful for like where you're at, because some people see what you're doing as the dream.
Yeah. 100%.
And it just like kind of like was a whole mind shift for me. Like I teared up when I read that, because it was like, dang it, he's right. Like,
Yeah.
why wish that I was somewhere else in another season, in someone else's shoes, a bigger platform? Like, why wish all these things when like I've got my family, I've got my church, I've got a wife that loves me and has stuck with me through thick and thin, and I'm making music that I care about for $4 a song. Like, that's all I'm averaging right now.
Insane,
$4
bro.
a song. And it's like, I consider myself very blessed to be able to do what I'm doing right now.
So how has making music shifted for you over time to where you've gone from, when we were dreaming 10 years or 11 years ago on a Zoom call, I don't think you were far off from where you are now, but I think you ended up more in and I stand by this. I think you're one of the best songwriters I know. And I mean, I've told you that for 10 years. But so you got more into writing worship songs for churches, still do that.
Yeah.
And now you've shifted and I think where I see you now is, I don't know that I necessarily see you as a Christian artist. I see you, because we were talking even before about a song before we started recording that is one of my favorite songs. That is a country song that talks about Jesus. And you're like, dude, that's like what I'm trying to, like, that is the thing that I'm like, my passion in right now.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think I see you even as an artist is not so much a writing Christian music, like 2010s K-Love, but is more of an artist writing great music that some of it happens to be about God. And I think even see a shift in that realm. uh, what I from the outside looking in, of no one I'm close to, but just artists in general,
Yeah.
of making great music, and it may talk about God, it may just be wholesome. So how do you think that shifted for you over time, as you've and seasonally it's ebbed and flowed? Does that question make sense?
No, yeah, like, I think in 2015 in that conversation, I think music and artistry was just a very different thing. So, like, back then, I would say you picked a lane and you ran only in that lane.
Right.
Today, we live in a world where, an album that really changed my perspective on what I'm doing right now is, this artist Brandon Lake.
Yeah.
He's got an album called King of Hearts,
Mhm.
and I've listened to it. I try not to listen to it too much because it inspires me so
Then
greatly
you can
that
try to become
I
that.
don't wanna copy it,
Yeah.
but it was deeply inspiring because I realized, oh, there's a worship song, like a song that someone could sing in their church and it not be weird. And then this is a full-on just country song.
Mhm.
And then this is like almost like a rock song. And it was like this like like mix of things. And for me, it was like kind of like took the barriers off of like, you know what? Who's to say that like if I'm gonna release music, I just have to release worship music or
Oh,
I
yeah.
just have to release whatever. And I was like, why don't I just like kind of, while I'm not on a label, I'm a completely independent artist. I do everything myself. You know, obviously you don't want to get too far outside of like,
Yeah.
you don't want to release a country song and then your next one is like funk pop or something crazy like
Sure.
that. Like, I think that there's like limitations here, but like, who's really gonna think it's all that weird if I write a song about Jesus and the next one is about my wife?
Yeah, and I think there's a freedom in that too, to your point of 10 years ago, you were in a lane,
Yeah,
and, like, you're not a church group writing song, which I could go down a rabbit hole of that, and I'm not going to. But, I mean, you bring up a guy like Brandon Lake right now. I mean, the dude's getting ready to release a full country album.
yeah. It's probably gonna blow my mind.
It's probably gonna be fire. I mean, I've seen some of the dudes he's worked like, not just dudes, but the people he's
Yeah,
working with, and I'm
yeah,
like, "Bro."
yeah.
Which is, that, but it's interesting to me, and I think you're onto something. I think the music industry, again, I'm not in it. I have had a lot of singer-songwriters, musicians on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more, to the point someone asked me one day, like, "Are you a music pod?" No, I'm not a music podcast, I promise. It's just those are people that I've
Yeah.
gotten to have on. But, I mean, I do think there is almost an, ambiguity in a sense.
Ambiguity?
I said that,
Good
ambiguity?
word, man.
I don't know
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
said it, but you know what I mean? And
yeah,
there's not defined lines so much anymore
yeah,
in styles so much. And I think as an independent artist like yourself, it creates a lot of freedom for you to be able to create what you love. And I
yes,
think that even comes, even like for me personally on this podcast, is like there's no I don't have to fit into a niche box.
yeah,
And as creatives, I need that.
yeah,
Because if not, then it allows you the freedom to just become who you want to become from an artistry perspective.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
excuse me, I'm sorry.
and I
Oh,
think like with that, even just like sometimes I just like writing Christian perspective
mhm.
songs. Like, I know there's a lot of like non-believers, or no, I shouldn't say that. Cut that part. I know there's a lot of people who may not be as familiar with like faith
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
that watch your podcast,
yeah.
which is great. But I think for me, like Luke 15 in the Bible
Mhm,
is the story of like the prodigal son. Um, some people refer to it as the father who ran,
mhm.
when it's this idea that this one son basically before his father passed away is like, give me my share of the inheritance, and basically tries to like usurp his father,
Yeah,
thinks that his way is better in full blown ignorance, takes all this money and goes and blows it on dumb stuff to the
yeah,
point where he winds up bottom of the barrel, nothing left, gets a job feeding pigs, is literally like eating the food that he's feeding the pigs just so he
Right.
doesn't die, right? And he has this brief moment of clarity where he's like, "What am I doing here?
Yeah.
I had everything that I needed in my father's house." And he gets up, heads back home. His father sees him in the distance. His father sees him in the distance, hikes up his like robe, which
Yeah.
is very uncommon back then,
Yep.
and runs to his kid.
Mhm.
And like there's no other story in the Bible that I feel like has described me and my relationship with God,
Mhm.
that like trying to go my own way just never worked out.
Yeah.
Um, been a fool, blown so many things that
Yeah.
like just wasted so many things that could have been used in other ways, um and yet God still ran
Mhm.
to me.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think like fatherhood and like all the stuff that like it plays into a lot of what I write. Like probably my favorite song I've ever written is about to come out in a couple months. It's called Come On In.
Mm.
And it's me and one of my best friends, Rob Ricardo, who I write really well with.
Shout out Up and Vanished.
Up in Vantage, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Sorry, that
yeah,
just
yeah. Rob's a cool dude. He's
Rob's
one of
great.
the most interesting people that I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Um,
very talented.
and I pitched him this idea of like, what if we like kind of told the story of the prodigal son, but in a way that's like deeply personal,
Mhm.
and we use like commonplace language, like when the father sees his son, he's like, um, "I don't care where you've been, just come on in the house. Like,
Mm.
I'm glad you're home." Um, and I've never written a song that's more accurate to my story,
Yeah.
in terms of my relationship with God. And so I love being able to do that and not having the weight of what if I never play this in a worship service?
Yeah.
What if I never play this on a Sunday morning at somewhere?
Yeah.
That's okay.
What and I think that is very good for you
Yeah.
because from my perspective, because of, you've been on staff at churches for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think you got so boxed into writing songs for church.
Yeah.
And which is, hey, dude, is very different. It's a very different world. And you get locked into, what's the singability of the song for a church service?
Yeah.
That you lose a little bit of the passion and the creativity of you as an artist,
Yeah.
which I think that you've ended up leading people at churches because that's just part of who you are.
Yeah.
But I think from an artist perspective, you got boxed into something that was never you. And this is my perspective. And so I think for me to see you being able to pursue that away from that
Yeah.
is only going to lead to further great products and from a song perspective because you're pushing the envelope creatively for you
Yeah.
and you're allowing yourself the freedom to express and write and think in ways that you wouldn't have previously.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like because I still love writing for the church. I
100%.
I don't do it as much as I used to. It's kind of few and far between right now.
Mhm.
In terms of like writing a worship song
Yeah.
for church.
Yeah.
Um, but like the times that I do, like it's because essentially I'm trying to think like a country writer now. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say like my style is explicitly just country. Um,
I think you just lean into it, dude.
but I'm
I
trying to, I don't know, I'm just trying to like
I
do
think you should just freaking lean into it.
what country?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
I'm serious.
But it has like brought in like so like two songs that I don't know when this episode is coming out,
Yeah.
but like in April, which by the way, like this year I'm trying to release a song every 2 weeks.
Dude, that's
I don't know
wild.
if you've like realized that yet or not, but like this one guy who's kind of been mentoring me was basically like as much as you can release right
Mhm.
now, like music wise, do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just gonna it's kind of like giving people this like this idea like Ben's here to
Yeah.
stay kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
And so which has been very challenging, but every 2 weeks I'm trying to drop a song.
Okay.
Only month that I won't drop to is March this month.
Okay.
Just because I'm on a feature, I'm on a like collab song with an artist that weirdly enough, I grew up listening to, which is
Dude, I know who you're talking about.
yeah,
I did not realize who it was when I saw that until
amazing.
later on, and it clicked. I was like, "Oh my!" I played Tori like the song, one of
Yeah,
their songs. She would know, and she's like, "Oh," I was like, "I did." It just
yeah.
didn't click.
John Waller is
Yeah.
his name, and now he's created a family band with his kids and his wife called Waller Co. And he has been such a blessing, like, to my life. Like, he's just been a friend and a mentor, and,
Yeah.
um, we write really well together. Anyways, so this is the 1 month that I'm only releasing 1 song
Mhm.
because I'm on the song with him. But then in April, like, my 2 songs that I have coming out is called, Jesus Stole a Thief,
Okay.
which is the idea that the thief on the cross that cries out to Jesus and it's like,
Yeah.
"Remember me." And he's like, "You'll be with me in paradise today."
Yeah.
That story, is another one that's deeply impactful to me.
Mhm.
So I wrote a song called Jesus Stole a Thief, the idea of right from the devil's clutches at the 11th hour, Jesus stole a thief off the cross.
Dang.
Um, and then another one in April is called Anti-Venom, which is the idea that have you heard this concept that, like, lambs like, I heard it loosely
Mhm.
said one time that lamb's blood is the antivenom for snake bites?
Really? I've never heard that before.
Well, I looked into it. The research is sorry for running out of
No,
time.
no, no, dude, you're fine.
The research is actually fascinating. Like, I thought it was literally like you extract lamb's blood, and
Yeah.
that's not how it works.
Okay.
The way it works is if a lamb
Mhm.
is injected with venom from a snake,
Mhm.
the blood of the lamb will create antibodies in its bloodstream that you can extract the antibodies and then create an antivenom
Really?
serum from the lamb's blood that's been infected.
Dude, that's
Wild.
wild.
And I was
I've
like,
never heard that
"That
before.
is that's God, bro."
Yeah.
Like, and so
Right.
so me and Rob Ricotta, same
Mhm.
guy, and then another guy named Peyton McCall, um, we wrote this song called Anti-Venom, and it's the idea that, um, Jesus in the Christian faith, Jesus took our sin
Mhm.
that didn't belong to him. He took our sin in his body and then gave us freedom,
Yeah.
like, through that, forgiveness through that. So his blood is essentially the blood of the lamb is the antivenom
Dang.
for sin. And so, I love like, getting deep into the weeds of, um, uh, it's just songwriting in a different way, whereas,
Mhm.
like, when you're writing for worship music, you've gotta paint the picture crystal
Mhm.
clear.
Mhm.
Because you're essentially saying, like, however like, whether it's 100 people or 10,000 people that you're leading a worship song in front of,
Yeah.
you need to be able to understand from, like, um, really any level of biblical knowledge from 0 to 100,
Yeah.
like, they can kinda get the
Yeah,
idea.
and the whole point in worship is writing a song that people look up, not at,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
Which is so
And I love that
important.
charge,
When I
like
also feel like we've gotten really bad at that in worship music, but I digress.
yes. And d
That is not a conversation for
and don't
worship
get me
music.
wrong, I love that objective. I
Yes.
love, like,
Yeah.
that is the point
Yeah.
of worship.
Right.
But with this, it's like, you know what? I almost want people to be in more reflection.
Mhm.
So, like, if they're listening to this at the gym or in their
Yeah.
car or
When I think that's the cool part of music in general too,
yeah,
is the way that I don't remember what I think I might have been listening to Bobby Bones' podcast, and he was talking about, like, music is one of the top 2 ways of how much we connect to a season of life,
yeah, exactly.
which I freaking love.
Yeah.
It's like I could hear us like, if you turned on Justin Bieber's Purpose album, I could take it like, it would take
Yeah,
me back to
dude, me too.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
that's
just
crazy.
which I love that. Well, alright, I have one last question for you. Do you have anything else you wanna add on that? Sorry, I interrupted you. I'm trying to be better about that. I'm really bad about it.
No, I'm just honestly, I'm just stoked to be able to, like, create this timeline, and
Yeah,
it's hard, but I mean, walking away at the end of this year, I should have 20 to 24 songs
which
that
is
are
so
out.
cool, dude. I mean, I talked about it, but, like, I love seeing the lane you're I'm glad you've quit using Sora AI.
Wait, what?
Wasn't it what was the AI thing that you kept posting?
Oh, yeah,
Was it
that
that
was
Sora?
a
What was it?
that was a marketing,
Yeah, I
trick
loved you.
catcher.
I was like, I would text Chloe and be like, "Please take his phone until he quits using
Yeah.
it."
Well, hey, well, okay,
I
alright,
love you.
alright.
That's the worst iteration of your social media you've ever had.
So one of the guys who's, like, mentored me on, like, starting out as a Christian artist, he said to me, like, 6 or 7 months ago, he said, "If you don't post on social media, some
Mhm.
type of social media, every single day
Yeah,
about your music, you're not even in the game."
which is wild.
And I took that to heart
Uh,
from that day.
I know you did.
And
Every day.
there's some days, bro, where I'm like, well, in that season where I was,
Yeah.
like, promoting, I believe that was,
I can't remember what
"It's the
song.
Ghost" was
Yeah,
the
that's the
song
one.
that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
pushing at the time.
Yeah,
And, which the idea was to release it on Halloween, and
yeah.
so I was like, "Man, I'm just gonna, like, make these, like, ridiculously
They
stupid,
were I
like,
love you, they
shredding,
were
like,
insane. One
riding
of
on the
them was
back of
you
it."
was on the back of, like, a freaking horse with no head or something. I
And
was
I
like,
was shredding my electric guitar with, like,
"Oh,
yeah,
dude." Okay,
so
so but no, I'm happy for you and proud of you as a friend of seeing you step into kind of a different lane musically and finding, I think, a different passion for something that's been there all along,
yeah.
and I love that. So, my last question for you before we finish. You grew up a gigantic Switchfoot fan. I mean, like, your early music sounded just like I actually have a demo
Oh, no.
somewhere of a song I wrote 11
Oh,
years ago that you were
Crimson Victory.
is that the song?
That was the
Was
one of
that
the
the one
only
you did
ones
of
you've
it?
sent me.
Okay, yeah, must have been that, dude. That was 11 years
I
ago, at
remember that,
least,
yeah.
forever ago, and you wrote I think Greg House and I wrote that song together, and you recorded a demo of it, and you sounded just like John Foreman.
Thanks.
So which was wild, but that was at that season of life was the artist you aspired to be
Oh, yeah.
like so much. So what was it like for you when the Jonas Brothers released their new album and had Switchfoot
Oh,
on their
bro.
album? How cool is that, dude?
Freaking awesome.
I mean, you know me, I'm wearing a Jonas Brothers t-shirt right now.
Yeah.
So it's like to see a, a Christian artist that we grew up listening to
Yeah.
be on a mainstream pop album like that was just and then and they talked in that time of like they talked a lot about they were on a couple there's what podcast did they I think it was Daniel Wall is who it was. They did his podcast, like a 3 hour long episode diving into the nitty-gritty of their journey as artists and
Yeah.
their music and they talk a lot about how much Dare You to Move and that album impacted their early artistry,
Yes.
which is crazy, dude.
Which it's interesting, like, seeing so The Beautiful Letdown is the
Mhm.
album that they're
Yep.
referring to,
Yep.
which came out in 2003,
Yeah.
and in 2023, they did a 20th year
Yeah.
anniversary,
They did, and
uh,
that one is so good.
they re-recorded the
Kinda
entire
like
album.
reimagined
Yeah.
almost. Yeah,
Yes, like how they would play it now.
yeah,
Um, and then they had, like, all these other artists, including the Jonas Brothers,
yeah.
cover that record, which was genius. And it was so interesting because I would say, like, I know this wasn't like we never really got to this in this episode, but top 5 most
Mhm.
impactful albums of my life. Number 1, without a doubt, is The Beautiful Letdown.
Dang.
And, like, that's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
I've never, like, widespread talked about that. I've never really, like, widespread heard that. But then, like, when that came out and the Jonas Brothers were like, "No, this was,
Mhm.
like, core
Mhm.
inspiration." And so that's what's interesting about Switchfoot, is, like, they're less mainstream these days.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
But, I
but,
mean, there
like,
was
for
a
the people that
time.
know,
Yeah.
they are legends. John
Mhm.
Foreman, like, if there's one
Unbelievable,
person I
bro.
wish I could be friends with
Yep.
in this life, it would be him, just because honestly, I I don't even like, I would love to be his friend, but I would just love the chance to say, like, thank you to him
Mhm.
for the music that they created when I was a kid with trying to, like, find my footing and, like, in faith and, like,
Yeah.
my own thoughts about, like, who is God, like, what do I believe is true, all these they were so formidable for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so, anyways, all that to fast forward to when I saw Greetings from Your Hometown
Mhm.
and featuring Switchfoot, I was like, "Let's freaking go."
it is crazy because what tour was it? Maybe the tail end of their 2023 tour. They had Switchfoot come out
Yeah.
and play a song with them.
I think it was Meant to Live, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it Beautiful Letdown? I can't
No,
remember.
it was Meant to Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sang that song, and I think they sang a
great.
Jonas Brothers song
Yeah.
together even. But I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
And I saw on, like, TikTok something, I was like I told her, I was like, "That's nuts."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
again, because, like, you know, I mean, and the Jonas Brothers their story's so interesting. Growing up in church, their dad's a worship pastor or a pastor at a church, you know. Their
Yeah.
story is incredible to me. And then I think but then, you know, they create music that is I think in some ways, like, kinda similar to you of, like, not all your like, your music's not necessarily Christian for the church, and that was, you know, in early 2000s, that was a big deal, you know,
Yeah.
in that world, and, I mean, we grew up in similar worlds, and
Yeah.
but so then for them to now be 20 years later, and then to have a group like Switchfoot on
Yeah.
is what, like, so and that song's so good.
Yeah.
And
I remember first time I heard it, I was like, "This rules."
Dude,
And, like, such a
musically,
perfect
they're so creative, bro.
Yeah.
And people just if there's anything their last 3 albums have done is, I think, prove that to people because, you know, they're early, you know, early in their career, they're a boy band and, you know,
Yeah.
and now as adults, they come out and release music. And dude, Nick Jonas's new albums as well, and if you've listened
It's
to those,
fire, yeah.
his newest one, and then everybody sleeps on his one that he released, Spaceman. I don't know if you've ever listened to that one. Came out during 2021. It was like post-COVID.
Huh.
That album from start to finish is like one sonic flow.
Interesting.
If you listen to it, and you know who pointed
Which
that
was
out to me? Danny Lopez pointed that out to me.
I love Danny
I
Lopez.
love Danny Lopez. That
Great
is
dude.
what a great guy. And what a freak artist, bro.
Oh, he's insane.
He's insane. But he pointed that out. We were together one day, and he's like, "Dude, this album, start to finish, it's kind of like Eric Church's new album does the same thing."
Yeah. Well, you know who did that before any of those people?
Who?
Switchfoot. In 2004
Really?
was the first time I heard it on their if you go back and listen to their Nothing Is Sound album,
Yeah.
every song connects through some kind of
I
sonic
freaking
flow.
love that dude. And so it's like, I mean, to hear that,
It's
and
a masterpiece.
Spaceman is that way, and it's just there's so many songs on that you're just like, holy freaking crap. But I love their modern music. I love their old stuff too. I'm a Jonas. There's like certain artists that I'm just a freaking fanboy of.
Yeah.
And they're one of them.
Well, Naomi loves
Yep.
the Jonas Brothers.
Yep.
Like I would say that's probably her favorite band.
Oh yeah.
And so when that came out, it was like our worlds have connected.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah.
I saw Naomi. I went to the Jonas Brothers show in October of 2023, and she was there with Chloe, and I saw them there because I was getting Chloe some beverages.
Okay. Well,
She just was like, "Can you help?" Because I had Lexa Sound, the whole thing. You know, it's fun. I had a big time, but
I think I was there at that show too.
Did you go to
It was
that one?
the outdoor one, right?
No, we did. No, I forgot. No, this was after that. That was 2021 because we saw each
that's
other
right.
at the First Bank Game Theater in Franklin. I don't know that we knew each other were going, and then like I walked in and saw you all.
That's right. There's
And-
one that I didn't go to. I've been to
Yeah.
2 Jonas
Dude,
Brothers shows.
The one I went to in 2023, we took Rowan. It was his first concert. Went with my friend Jeremiah, his wife, and one of our other Tor and one of our other friends. The best show I've ever been to in my life.
Wow.
Just the artistry. I mean, dude, they've traveled with the full symphony
Yeah.
essentially, or orchestra.
Yeah.
Not symphony, more of an orchestra, and it's just
It's wild.
it's wild. And so people used to like make fun of me for how much I love the Jonas Brothers. I'm like, I genuinely, dude, I'm in my 30s. I don't give a flip.
Yeah,
Whatever you think about, I'm like, yeah, but you can go post on the other artists, dude. Get out of here, get the flip out of here.
Yeah.
Anyways, what a way to end the episode, dude. Seriously, Ben, thank you so much for coming on, bro. I love you, brother. It means the world. I'm not sure what that was, but I appreciate you.
I was gonna interlock.
Hey, okay, what a way. Speaking of interlocking.
What are you about to say? What?
Do you remember when I brought this up on a podcast on an episode recently? Do you remember when Toy and I, when we were pregnant with Roman, we came and stayed with you all when you were in Asheville on our way to the beach, and we hung out with you all for like 2 or 3 days,
Yeah.
and we watched the movie Masterminds together.
Oh yeah.
I brought that up for you.
Jandis.
Yeah. Good Lord,
Jandis,
Jandis,
you farted in my
butthole.
butthole.
Dude, there's
That's a great
not
movie.
enough people have seen that movie. Oh,
What a name, Jandis.
dude, that was the same weekend that I locked you out of your house, and you took one of your dogs out. I locked you out, and you, like, couldn't get back in, and I have it on video. I unlocked the door and to let you back in. You're like, "Huh, must have locked myself out when I
I
left."
do remember that. And,
Buff chick dip.
Buff Chick Dip.
Dude, we
I
have
still call it that because of
yep,
that weekend.
that weekend.
Yeah.
You may and you, like there's a video of that too. There's a up there, dude. We've had so much fun over the last 20 years together. But man, again, thank you so much for coming on, bro. I
Love you, dude.
appreciate you. Love you, brother. Thank you so much for listening, as always, to this week's episode of Deepish. Really, really enjoyed getting to sit down with, truthfully, one of my oldest friends. Guy who's been one of my best friends for, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, going on 20 years, 15 years, something like that. A very long time. And Ben is a lovely human. Really, just a genuinely good person who I love dearly, and a great dad. Really enjoyed getting to talk parenting with him and his perspective on raising three boys, and just how he grows in that, and constantly trying to do what he can to create a safe space for his boys, and love them well. And it's parenting is never easy and is never the same thing every day. It changes honestly daily of what your kids need, and if you're a parent, you know how accurate that is. But really enjoyed getting to have him on, so thank you all so much for listening. Make sure to go check out his music wherever you stream music. If you want to buy his music, I know he would greatly appreciate that as well. Find him on all social media. He finally has quit doing his AI based social media content, which I gave him a hard time about in the episode. But I believe his Instagram name is Ben_Halsey. So make sure to go check him out. He'll be in his socials. All of his music will be tagged in the description of this episode. But again, thank you all so much for watching. If you would, make sure to subscribe. I say it every week, but subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, so that you never miss an episode. Get notified every week. Leave us a review. And always love for you to share the episode with a friend if you enjoy it. If you can put up with my craziness and listening to me talk, then share it with somebody else. But again, thank you all so much for listening. And as always, we will see you next week for our next episode of Deepish.